Welcome to the full review of the CrinEar Meta. You've been waiting for this review and I've been holding back to build that suspense. It's an embargo. It was an embargo. That's why I couldn't post this. I would have posted this the day I got it if I could. The CrinEar Meta. Now, I was speaking to Crinacle the other day and I asked him, where's this going to be available? Hangout.audio. That is the last free plug you're going to hear about that website. Pay me, dude. What the hell? Hangout.audio. That's where you can get this. Apparently, it's the only place you can get it. And you can only get 500 units. At which point I said, wait, what? He said, yeah, 500 units. And what? That's it? Limited run? Is building up that hype? He's like, that's it. I will build no more. Unless the money comes in, and then I will build some more. Like any other business. And apparently the first 500 units are going to be numbered. Now the review units are not numbered. That's how you know they're special. But I've been told that this is the final version, the same thing that you guys are going to get if you opt to buy it. So here's what I'm going to do. In this review, I am going to talk about what you get in the box. Also, I have an unboxing video, you can go check that out. But what you get in the box, what it sounds like subjectively, and how it compares with the Dusk, which I think is an appropriate comparison. And then we're going to look at the actual measurements and see if I'm full of shit. Enjoy. So what you get is a box, and inside that box you get a bigger box. That's not the box. This is the absolute monster box that you get, and inside that is another box. Yeah, it's just boxes for days. Well, actually it's a pouch. You can yank it out. It's held together by Velcro. That can be a carry case, but in that pouch you get 3 pairs of tips, but two types of tips. Silicone as well as foam. We'll talk about what that does to the sound in a second. But you also get, this cable, this very nice cable that is copper? No, more like rose gold. Yeah, feels nice, but more importantly, it's got an interchangeable interconnect, and in the box you get the 3.5mm jack or a 4.4mm jack. You get both, so you can switch between them and enjoy the single greatest enhancer of audio quality known to man, the placebo effect. Just kidding. Look, if your DAC or amp can't power these, then you can just use the balanced output and get a little more juice out of it. It's an IEM. Who are you kidding? Anything can power this. My grandmom can power this. I think it's quite nice looking. It's got this powder black finish, metallic powder black, and it's got rose gold accents, which I think is very nice and understated, but just with a little bit of flash, it's a good look. He didn't go too far out there. It's nice and restrained, but it's got enough pizzazz that you like that you've bought this, that you like that you spent a little money, because it feels just a little bit special. Not too special. We can't have you feeling that now. Not for $250. That'll come at $500, but special enough. Honestly, I quite like it. Now, the nozzle is a whopping 5.9-ish, 6 millimeters, and that's not too bad, all things considered, given that his other IEMs, some of them were 6.8 millimeters wide, or like the Zero Blue, which is slightly improved to like a 6.2 millimeters, still a chode. They're all very thick. He just likes it thick. What can I say? I don't know what to tell you. But if you want to watch this review, you should subscribe. Also, this is something you can get at linsol.com. They'll get a free plug because I have associate links down below where I get a little cut of whatever you buy. linsol.com. Eat that, hangout. Here's the thing. I think it's quite comfortable. The nozzle extends deep enough that it provides me with a secure fit, and it doesn't jut out too much in the ear, as you can see, unlike the Dusk, which juts out a little bit because that's a thick boy. I just realized that I've got a green. Why did I choose a green background? Like green and pink? What are we, back in the 80s now? Look, it's not a Bluetooth IEM. There's nothing to talk about except sound. So why don't we just talk about the sound? Okay, first off, when I popped these into my ear, I used a bunch of test tracks. Carpetman, love that artist. Go check it out. I've been listening to Endless Fight. Awesome track. Guns N' Roses, Dust and Bones. A little throwback from the 80s, because 80s. Also, a little bit of Iron Maiden, a little bit of Hans Zimmer for the soundstage and the imaging and all that sort of thing. And of course, the old favorite Hell Freezes Over version of the Hotel California. Now, off the rip, this is definitely a bassy IEM. There is absolutely no getting away from it. This is a bassy IEM. But it's not thin like the Harman-tuned IEMs. It's also not muddy. So clearly he's done a little something to take away from the muddiness that's associated with that 200 Hertz region. But he's still kept some of that warmth, some of that thickness. Why do I keep going back to that? Yeah, some of that girth. Again, with the thickness, look, everything sounds fleshed out to a good extent and not like a harm-tuned IEM, which in my book is a very nice thing. Then you go to the vocals and you realize that vocals generally tend to be a little bit on the sharper side, male vocals especially in some tracks where things are really heavy, heavy metal for example. Male vocals can seem just a little bit on the thinner side, a little bit on the slightly recessed side, but I am nitpicking here. Trust me when I say that by and large, this is a well-tuned IEM, and anything I'm talking about now is more about the flavoring and the consequences, the result of that flavoring. Vocals, despite being slightly thin on some tracks in some conditions, is generally clean, clear, and sounds pretty darn great. Barring one little thing, I got the distinct impression that some vocals had a little bit of zing to it. Now, this could be balanced armatures. Some people say balanced armatures do this, but I don't know what it is. I just know there's a little bit of zing, and in EQ, when I dropped the 11 to 13 kilohertz region, it helped, but it didn't quite get rid of it. So there's just a tiny bit of zing. Not a huge deal breaker unless you're really sensitive to that sort of thing. There's something floating around here. There's also a little bit of sharpness somewhere in the treble, like a little bit of extra sharpness. Not enough to be sibilant, not enough to be overly sharp or hot or anything like that. Just a little bit extra pizzazz or flavor there. Nicely extended into the treble, and the upper end of the treble, I'm talking 14, 15, 16 kilohertz, that sort of thing is also emphasized. It's not just drowned out in a down curve, which I was afraid he might do, but he didn't. He's actually brought that up to decent level. So this is actually a very nicely tuned IEM, good instrument separation, pretty good imaging, not the absolute best I've heard, but pretty darn good. And I think around the $250 price point, it kind of holds its own. Now, having said that, let's compare it with the Dusk. Okay, on a comfort level, I think this is more comfortable in the ear than the Dusk. To be fair, the Dusk is a little, just a little bigger overall. But when I say Dusk, please understand, I'm talking about the Dusk DSP. And what that means is it comes with a normal 3.5mm ending, but it also comes with this USB-C ending, and that has a chip inside it which can take an EQ setting. It comes with an app. You can set an EQ setting on it, and it comes with some default EQ settings. So when I'm talking about comparing the two IEMs, I'm talking about the Dusk on the default EQ setting that is already there on this when you use the app. Okay, between the two IEMs, the Dusk is noticeably more warm, but just about as bassy. In fact, the bass representation of the two is almost exactly on par, just that this ends up sounding more warm but also a little more muddy, and this, the Meta, ends up sounding kind of similarly warm, just without the muddiness. And the bass levels, to my ears, sounded very, very similar. Now, going a little bit deeper, I'm talking like pixel peeping here. In Hotel California, when you have those drums at the very beginning, I think the drums sound just a tad more natural and fleshed out on the Dusk than they do on the Meta. But at this point, I am pixel peeping. Like, I'm just really, really diving deep, and I had to listen like 7 times to notice the difference, that sort of thing. So just mentioning it. Now, in vocals though, that's where they sound a little bit different. Where the Dusk is, it's warm, it's intimate, it's vocal forward, the Meta seems a little more laid back and spaced out when it comes to the vocals. Like male vocals, like I said, sound a little thinner on this, sound a little thicker on this. And that's about it. That is the two main differences I could find in this. Like, these are astonishingly similar. Treble is also very similar presentation. I mean, yes, the Dusk has a little too much energy around the 15, 14, 16 kilohertz region. Somewhere around that, there's way too much. As many reviewers have documented, this one doesn't have that. This one's actually got pretty good upper treble. That little bit of zing in the vocals, yes, but apart from that, very similar in overall tonality except for the vocals and that little bit of extra muddiness in the mids. So with that being said, let's take a look at the objective measurements and see if I'm full of shit or not. Now, I have my own measurements, but I'll just use Crinacle's own measurements at hangout.audio. There you go. That's one more plug, free of cost, my guy. And he's got the 711 measurements, which I'm going to use because I'm used to the 711 rig, so we'll just talk on that. Okay, it only just occurred to me that I could have just been having my own YouTube channel as the background. I don't know, just These things don't occur to me right away. I get too absorbed into the craft of all of this for you guys, you know. So much bullshit. So comparing the two IEMs with the Harman target, you'll notice one thing straight away. None of these IEMs adhere to the Harman target, except the pin again peak is roughly where Harman specifies it, and that's it. And you know what? I'm a fan of that because Harman target. I know some of you like it. I don't care. What you'll also notice is the bass levels between the two are the same, and the treble fall off between the two are the same. So in a sense, I'm just saying I was right. They are very similar IEMs. There's a little bit of a dip around sort of 200 Hertz on the Meta, and that probably accounts for the lack of muddiness in the mids, where you don't have that in the default Dusk setting. That's probably what I was hearing. And in the vocals, you can see that the 2 kHz, around 2 kHz, there's a little bit of difference in tuning. The peak of the pin again and the Dusk is a little bit lower than that of the Meta, and there's a little scoop out at around 1.5 to 2 kHz. That's probably accounting for the difference in the vocals. The treble's very similar, and each of them have slightly different treble flavor because there's a little bit of spike here and there, but overall the treble profile is the same. So they're actually really similar IEMs, but one big advantage in my opinion is that with the Meta, you get a refined version of the Dusk tuning, I would call it. Unless you really like intimate vocals, then you want the Dusk. But otherwise, I think the Meta is actually a refinement on the Dusk default DSP tuning, and you don't need a USB-C cable. It's just physically tuned that way. Just one less thing for you to bother about. Now, in the Dark Knight Rises soundtrack, I found that there was adequate, in fact pretty decent separation between instruments, and things that were supposed to come in the background sounded like they were from behind me somewhere. So not bad at all for an IEM, of course. Oh, the tips. I forgot to talk about the silicone versus foam tips, right? Foam tips, subdue the treble a little, change the character just a little bit, and removes a little bit of that zing, I must say. However, despite me normally preferring foam tips, I'm actually going to recommend you use the silicone tips. Just opens up the treble a little and actually makes the presentation a little more spacious, a little more airy, and a little cleaner sounding. There you go. I recommended silicone tips for a change. So yes, it looks like the man who has tuned 1,000 different IEMs at this point has tuned yet another IEM pretty darn well. Except I do appreciate that over iterations, he's made this every little bit better. He's gone through the Harman, he's come out of the Harman. Well, mostly he wanted to sell things, so it was a smart move to make a Harman targeted IEM, but he's gone beyond that. Now he's up to preference. He likes a little bit of warmth, which I think we all like a little more warmth than Harman. Can I say that without offending too many people? I think we can all agree that just a little bit more is not a bad thing. But at the same time, he's reduced that muddiness problem, which a lot of us don't like. So that's good. Bass is boosted. Everybody likes bass. So you got that, and it's really tight. It's well-controlled bass. It's good bass. I don't know if he's using two drivers against each other like the Dusk, or he's using one driver. I don't know. He refuses to tell anyone the driver configuration. He told me that I refuse to give you the driver configuration, and at which point I said I didn't ask. Will you never reveal the driver configuration? He said never. Possibly, maybe, it depends. And then I just left it at that because I don't give a shit. If it sounds good, who gives a crap? Academic knowledge, sure. Out of curiosity, now I want to know. What the hell? Screw you, man. Now I want to know. But look, the gist is, it's a great IEM. It's $250. You get what I think is pretty good quality overall for the IEM and the cable. Which one are you going to buy? Are you going to bid for number 1, or are you going to get number 69 or 420? All those numbers are available at that website that shall not be named. On the other hand, if you want giveaways, you should become a member of this channel. It's only $1 a month, $3 if you feel like supporting me more, and you get giveaways. Yeah, you get enrolled in giveaways straight away. In fact, I will give away this Zero Blue 2. I'll do it. This is the giveaway. This is the next giveaway, and also my Kiwi Ears Ardor 2 members over the next couple of months. I will be announcing those giveaways, and I've got a couple of more giveaways lined up. So become a member of this channel. Thank you, subscribe, like, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful. Namaste.